guys, next article, pending home sales dropped to record low, even worse than during the financial crisis. Dun, dun, dun. You know, historically on the show this year, anything that's connected to 2008-9, I'm like, oh, God, I hate these comparisons. They're terrible. We all know what happened. But quick key points on this one. Pending home sales in October dropped to the lowest level since the National Association of Realtors began tracking them in 2001. So in the 22 years, they were never lower. Great. Pending home sales. Mortgage rates in October rose sharply, with the average on the 30-year fixed briefly soaring over 8%. We talked about that previously. And rates have since pulled back, but are now still above 7 in some situations, and some are below 7, and supply is tight. So, okay, do you guys think that it's behind us now, or do you think that we're going to see a continuation of low sales?
So is this the bottom?
That's the question. Do you think that October was the bottom for the volume of sales? So this is pending homes. So do you think that we will see fewer pending sales into the new year, or more pending sales?
I think it's gonna go up for sure.
I believe definitely has to go up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing: when interest rates start dropping, it gives also sellers a little more confidence that the next home that they purchase is gonna have a lesser payment.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of moving parts with this. So I think we're gonna see, that is gonna perform better.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I feel for the people that are okay with not selling because they don't need to sell, because they don't need to pay off debt, because they're not drowning in a financial, distressful situation. They're going to be more lenient to wait to see how the market performs into 2024, to really see how rates perform, how the market performs, and then really make the decision when to enter the market. I feel that they already know they want to sell, but they're just waiting for the opportunity where the rates are a little bit lower. Maybe they have a little bit more options to purchase from. And I think we're going to start seeing that into the beginning. Yeah. Beginning first quarter of 2024, we'll start seeing a lot more inventory. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, with interest rates being there, as a seller, like I was even looking at myself, what if I sold my house? Yeah, we get that tax advantage of the $500 when you're free, no capital gains. I was like, let me see if I'd explore that. So let's say I have this, I sell my house for $1 million and I have 500,000 there, and I owe 500 to the bank. If I put that 500 and I buy a 1.2 million, my payment that I'm going from $3,000 would actually be like 5,000, even with such a big down payment. Why? Because of the interest rate being that much higher. So sometimes for us, like for me, it's kind of like, is it a need or a want? And if it's a want, guess what? Right now is not the time to want. And right now is the time to do things based on need.
Yeah.
And so the people that we see that we're noticing we're assisting so much right now is because they're transferring from jobs here, and they still don't want to go back to renting. They'd rather say, hey, I'd rather take my chances right now, buy at a high interest rate environment versus interest rates going down and then me having to compete with more buyers who qualify.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where the need steps in versus just the want. And
how many times have we talked about this, where we talk about like our parents or even our grandparents, like, $187,000 for a house was just astonishing back in the 80s. And you're like, well, I would love one for $187,000 right now in California, in San Diego specifically. So I think there's a retro looking aspect to this too. It's like, it might seem difficult on the front right now on the surface, but over the course of time, of course, you make more money, you pay down debt, you're going to have more to debt service it. And then also, property values that they just historically increase over long durations of time, whether that's 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. You're going to have a place to live. I think, honestly, part of this whole pending home sales thing is part of the cost of buying a replacement home. It's also an affordability issue because there is demand for homes, but the demand, there's less of it that can actually qualify on paper.
Yeah.
So there's that issue. But if rates have come down and prices have stabilized, people are going, if prices are not going to come down, if I agree that the new normal is prices are going to stay where they're at, then the only way for me to get in, if I can't afford it now, is for the rates to go down, which now I can't afford, I'm going to have to get in, which means demand back. So if that demand comes back, then home prices, again, inverse, the home prices are going to stay or go up. And I think that's part of what they're saying is going to make October the gutter. I think that's why they go, people are going to end up, their demand hasn't gone away. Demand is going to come back. Yeah.
October was definitely a rough month.
I think the demand's going to come back in the new year.
Absolutely.
It's not going to go away because the shelter problem hasn't gone away. I mean, look at what the California is trying to do, giving more grant money out for people to build ADUs, and now even being able to sell ADUs as separate units. Like they're creatively trying to solve a number of different housing issues all at the same time, and that is because the demand is not being absorbed yet, and we don't have enough supply coming on board from new construction.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I took a class in economics, 101, 102, and one of the things that just strikes me the most, right, is what my instructor said. It's simple economics.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
And guess what's happening to our population every 50 years?
Doubling.
We're doubling.
Yeah.
So therefore, we're not caught up, to building as many homes as we need to right now. So definitely, to your point, yes, we're going to see cycles going up and down, but moving forward, this is very, very extremely different than 2008. 2008, in 2009, 10, 11, we had a huge amount of inventory.
Yeah.
And that's why prices just went down and they took a beating.
Well, one of the things my final thought on this for me, guys, is whenever you're at the bottom, everything's looking up.
Yeah. Or when you're on the butt. Yeah, vice versa, right? Yeah, it's true. So
All
true.
right.